You're listening to Ideal Practice, episode number 178. I know it's New Year's week and a lot of you are making big plans for tomorrow and you got a lot going on and that people around the world are celebrating in a variety of ways. I, too, will be finding my way to do exactly the same. But before I head into all of that, I wanted to share something special with you, a bit of wisdom that somebody special shared with me once, back at a time when I really needed it. And it's something that I have turned to again and again ever since. It's something I have shared with clients ever since. And although I don't usually even do a podcast episode during the holidays, my intuition tells me that somebody out there might need this. So I thought perhaps this was the day to share this with you. Consider this my gift as we say goodbye to the year that has been and step forward into whom you and I are becoming. So, stay tuned. Hi, I'm Wendy Pitts-Reeves, and with over 2 decades of experience in the private practice world, I've built my 6-figure business while learning a lot of lessons the hard way. This is the first podcast that shows you how to apply the principles of energy, alignment, and strategy to build a practice that is profit-centered, but people-forward. This is the Ideal Practice Podcast. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to a special episode of the Ideal Practice Podcast. This is Wendy Pitts-Reeves, your host, and I promise not to keep you long, but I did want to hang out with you just a little bit today. I know New Year's Eve is just around the corner, so what you got coming, huh? What you got going on? Got special plans? Are you going to a party? Are you hosting a party? Will it be a football day where you are? I would love to know what your favorite New Year's Eve tradition is. Y'all should email me. Email me at wendy@wendypittsreeves.com or post it in the review section for the podcast and tell me, what is your favorite New Year's Eve tradition? I have to tell you that when my kids were little, we would all go out on the front porch at midnight and bang pots and pans as loud as we could, shouting a Happy New Year's to all the neighbors on our quiet little country street. I'm sure they loved that. Or maybe not. We don't have that many neighbors. The cows probably didn't like it either, though. But anyway, that was fun. I don't do that anymore. You know, things change as you get older, but it was really, I really kind of always enjoyed that. So I'd love to know, what's your tradition? I actually don't usually record a podcast this week, but as I said in the intro, my intuition is telling me that some of you could use what I want to share with you today. In fact, this may very well become an annual tradition, y'all, because it's just such a beautiful way to move from one year to the next. And I want to start by telling you just a quick little story about how and when this came to me. So I have shared with many of you that I never had any intention of being in private practice or owning a business. That was never part of the plan. It emerged that was the only way forward when I wanted to be home with this sweet little boy that we were about to adopt back in the day. And I couldn't find a part-time position anywhere, not a part-time clinical position. So I ended up launching a private practice, but I went through this kind of a rough patch at my job because, to be honest, I wasn't great at it. I was an excellent clinician, I always have been, but I was a terrible boss back then because I hadn't yet learned how to lead. And the many, many life lessons that have come to me since then have certainly helped me improve my skills in that area. But back in my 20s, I didn't know what I was doing, and it was a tough spot. I knew that I was leaving that job. I hoped I had a future, but honestly, there was this moment when I could not imagine what the future could look like. The job I was leaving was, on its surface, better than any job I ever thought I could have. My office was in a log cabin in the woods. I was working with great kids who we did really good work with. I was making more money than I ever thought I would ever make as a licensed clinical social worker. I could not imagine anything better. But I knew I could not stay there. That wasn't the path for me. Not anymore. I thought it was, but it wasn't. So I knew that path was about to change. I wasn't actually very clear about where I was headed at that point, and it was a scary and difficult time. Well, one of my mentors back then was a woman who was actually the founder of the treatment program that I was working in back then. She had already left. As often happens with visionaries, it is not unusual that they launch something and bring it to fruition, and the day comes when it's time for them to move on as well. And that had already happened for her. But we were good friends. She was wise. I adored her. Her name was Patty Mitchell. If any of you are in the Knoxville area and have been around long enough to have ever known her, Patty Mitchell was a special gift in my life. And I was actually at a gathering of women friends, and we were sitting around a campfire, and I was talking with them about how hard it was to leave this job that was a place of security and that was better than anything I thought I'd ever have, and how scary it was to step into a future that at that point I could not see. Well, Patty had some words of wisdom to share with me that night. She shared with me several stories of transitions that she had been through. She shared with me some of the ways that she leaned on her own internal wisdom as well as some of her spiritual practices to help her through that. And that in itself was awesome and exactly what I needed. And then a few days later, she sent me something in the mail. I'm sorry, not in the mail, by email, that was a bit of wisdom that she said other women friends in her life had sent to her at a similar time in the past. So and that's what I want to share with you. But before I do, let me tell you why I want you to have this. It so often happens in our lives that we experience some kind of discomfort, some kind of difficulty. You guys see this with your clients all the time, and I know you experience it yourself. We are often in a rush to get through whatever discomfort in which we may find ourselves. That could be something, not that serious, something as simple as just can't wait till the holidays are over and all this kind of crazy, busy time of year that we're in. It could be some important challenge that we're facing in our personal life, some difficulty that we just want to have behind us. It could be a big project that we are dreading having to dive into. It could be something awesome that we're working on in our practice, but whatever it is, it's a bit daunting. And we just kind of want to get it over with. You know that feeling? I just want to get it over with. I want to hurry up and get through this and on to the other side. But the therapist in me knows that sometimes the first step in any period of growth is to sit with that discomfort for a while and to not be in too much of a hurry to figure things out, to not be in too much of a hurry to distract myself with action. In fact, we were just talking about this just a few weeks ago at Accomplished, which is the online support group that I lead for women leaders at midlife. It's a powerful group, and we have the best discussions. And we were talking about this very concept, that sometimes when something is hard or just uncomfortable, the most important thing we can do is be present to it for a while before we move forward. There is a time and a place for action, for sure. But sometimes, often I would say, the most effective way we can get through a tough time or a period of instability is first to be present with it and to not try to rush through it or try to avoid it. Do y'all get this? Do you not find yourself saying things just like this to your clients sometime? Yeah. Well, sometimes I have to tell myself this. And that was sort of the message that Patty wanted to share with me that evening around the campfire. So I have something special I want to share with you. And if it resonates, if you like this, I'm going to give you a copy of your own. I'll tell you how to download a copy for yourself just to have. I used to use this so often, I kept multiple copies of it in a desk drawer so I could pull one out and give it to a client on a moment's notice. What I want to read to you is a brief poem, essay, little bit of writing that was written by Pierre Desjardins is how I pronounce his name. Teilhard de Chardin. He was a French philosopher and a Jesuit priest. He was born in the late 1800s and died sometime in the mid-1900s. Coming from the culture of his time, I do want to tell you that this writing does use the word God and fairly traditional masculine language. But I just want you to substitute whatever language works best for you while still allowing yourself to receive the central message here. Because this is what Patty shared with me on that day so long ago when I knew what had been, but I could not imagine what might be. It's called waiting. And I'd like to, with your indulgence, I'd like to just read it to you. Waiting. Trust in the slow work of God. We are quite naturally impatient in everything to reach the end without delay. We should like to skip the intermediate stages. We are impatient of being on the way to something unknown, something new. And yet it is the law of all progress that it is made by passing through some stages of instability, and that it may take a very long time. Your ideas mature gradually. Let them grow. Let them shape themselves without undue haste. Don't try to force them on as though you could be today what time, that is to say, grace and circumstance, acting on your own goodwill, will make of you tomorrow. Only God could say what this new spirit gradually forming within you will be. Give our Lord the benefit of believing that His hand is leading you, and accept the anxiety of feeling yourself in suspense and incomplete. Accept the anxiety of feeling yourself in suspense and incomplete. That's from a letter of Pierre Teilhard de Chardin, who lived from 1881 to 1955. That's what Patty sent me by email, and she had written across the top of it that it had been shared from another friend to her during a period of instability. Well, in the years since that day, way back in the early 90s, there have been many times in life when I knew that things were changing, that the old ways were falling away. There have been many, many times when I could see where I had been, but had no idea where I was going. At the time that Patty shared that with me, I was leaving a well-paying job with a position of authority and a certain amount of prestige, doing important clinical work, and stepping into who knows what. Well, y'all, what I didn't know then was that the period of instability I was about to move through would gradually lead me into what became a thriving, well-respected, lovely group practice that served my community in ways I never could have done on my own, with even more awesomeness that filled my life every day for the next couple of decades. If anything, I have learned since then that if I can just tolerate feeling myself, quote, in suspense and incomplete, unquote, I will eventually find the path, pick back up the thread, and move forward again. And now you know that too. That is my hope for you as we transition from what has been into whatever will be next for you and for me and for all of us. If you'd like a copy of this little writing for yourself, go to wendypittsreeves.com/waiting. wendypittsreeves.com/waiting. And you can download your own free copy just to have. I always have this close by because I can't tell you how many times this brings me comfort that I am on my way. I just have to be present to this in between for a moment. What is New Year's if not the great in between? Yeah? Yeah. I will be present with you as we move into the new year as well. Happy New Year's, everybody. Be kind to yourself. Surround yourself with those you love. And know that I love you and am grateful for you more than I can possibly say. I look forward to seeing where we all go together in the new year. All right, that's what I've got for you today. Thank you for listening to this special episode. Have a great week. Have a great holiday. And I will see you next year right here on the Ideal Practice Podcast. Bye now. Hey, y'all. If this program has become important to you, if Ideal Practice matters, it would mean so much to me if you'd be willing to take just a minute to do one or two of the following things. First of all, would you follow or subscribe to the show here at Ideal Practice? Following me helps you because you'll never miss an episode, but it helps me as well for all kinds of reasons. To do that, all you have to do is go to the show page for Ideal Practice on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you listen to podcasts. There, just click on the plus sign that you'll usually find in the top right-hand corner, or click on the word follow that you're going to find somewhere there on that page. Of all the things, this really is the most important thing you can do for the podcast itself. While you're there, it would be extra special if you would be willing to give me a 5-star rating, and even better than that, a review with your own words. Your words matter. And when you write what you feel, what you think, you uplift and encourage others. And I love that. If you want to go a step further than that, take your favorite episode or two, one of the ones that has meant a lot to you, and share it with a friend. Could you do one or two of those things for me? I promise I will love you forever. You guys matter to me, and I value your support more than I can possibly say. Thank you, sweet friend, for anything you can do to help me out and support the show. I'll see you again soon.